Don't burn bridges, Sin. Too old I'm, Jake. I didn't even suspect that I was on a bridge, although I had heard that such structures have a tendency to spontaneously ignite. But why? I always enjoy a good campfire. He seemed somewhat confused. Obviously, he assumed that this conversation would go differently. I'm just saying it might not be good for us, he said. Well, I'm not sure what drugs you were taking, but I'm afraid the bridge has already fallen into hell, I said. Lord, Cynthia, why are you always so tough on everything? Oh, that's not true, I assured him. There are just some little things I'm worried about. Things like no sexually transmitted diseases, stupid little things, I know. There's also the matter of stabbing me in the back, disloyalty, having sex with someone else and the like. For God's sake, we used condoms. That's what you say. Of course, you've lied so many times in the last 3 weeks that it's a little hard for me to trust you to be truthful about anything. It's true, he insisted. Well, that's very tactful of you, I praised. Perhaps remember that there are a couple of other little things. Rice and Shay. What about them? Well, I know you hardly ever see them, but somehow I believe our kids will think it's weird that you don't live here anymore. What? I'm not going anywhere, he protested. Keep believing in it, I advised him. Sin, just think about it. Think about what? Well, look at you, he began. Do you really think that you will have any problems finding partners? I thought I had a partner, I said. I was obviously mistaken. No, that's not true. God, Sin, this is just damn. A lot of people play on the side, It doesn't hurt anyone, it just is what it is. This may well be true. Ask me if I care what many people do. He snorted bitterly. Not necessary. You never cared what others thought. This is true. So when are you thinking of moving out? This is not for me. I own this house just like you. Yes, but I will be the guardian, since you really communicate very little with girls, and I think they'll still want to live with me, right? The courts appear to favor the custodial parent in these matters. Just mentioned it. No doubt, but it shouldn't be like this, he complained. Sin, we cannot break off our marriage. We can be happy. Just leave it open. No, we won't do a damn thing like that. You can do whatever you want after a divorce. What did you think would happen when you got caught, Jake? Did you just think you'd hit me with this open marriage proposal, and I'd calmly accept? You had sex with her for 3 weeks, Jake, and you lied to me. He looked embarrassed, and that was appropriate. I didn't think I would get caught. It doesn't happen that way. Did you somehow imagine that you were so much smarter than me that you could get away with this? Trust me, prisons are full of people who thought they were too smart to get caught. You, of course, know more about this than I do. Yes, I am. I have a lot of clients just like you. You have a bunch of scumbags as clients? He accused. Yes, as I said, just like you. I was exhausted. Not so much physically, but emotionally and mentally. We're done, Jake. However, think about it. It will be much better for you. Now you can have sex with whoever you want, whenever you want, without any problems. 15 years, done, just like that? He asked. This was done 3 weeks ago, I said. I just got all my ducks together. I love ducks, and you, especially the little ones, so cute and fluffy. He stared at me with his mouth open. He looked like a fool. How did I not notice this before? Apparently, he did not share my admiration for aquatic birds. I'm going to take a long bubble bath, I told him. Try not to bother me by making me look at you, or talk, or breathe next to you. Where are the girls? They are with my parents, I told him. They don't want you to bother them either. What did you tell them? What have you done, Sin? I told them you're an idiot. They agree. He groaned in frustration. What do you imagine will happen, Sin? I said I was busy, I reminded him. I went to my bathroom and locked the door before turning on the bath. I looked through my bath bombs. I had one of those golden eggs from Lush. This was what we needed. The aroma of honey and toffee surrounded me. Nice. I undressed, critically examining myself in the mirror. Steam began to rise from the water, which caused irritation. I laughed. I guess I was just so hot. I really worked my little ass to stay in shape. I spent more hours at the gym than I even care to think about taking care of my skin and hair. At 39, I didn't look much different than I did at 29 or 19 for that matter. There are more of me, but in moderation. It was muscle, not flab. Lotto's album 777 started playing, which got me excited, and I relaxed in the luxury of my bath. My phone rang, and it was Shay. The worried but smiling faces of my children looked at me. "Are you okay, Mom?" I turned to my feet, sticking out of the bubbles, then back. "Yes. Are my children okay?" "Sort of. Yes," she answered. "How did everything go?" "About as you imagine. It was unpleasant and stressful, but I'm okay. As long as you're okay, I'm okay." The bubble buff makes me feel better. I sent them an emoji with 3 hearts. She sent me 2 huge emojis. "Are you taking us tomorrow for lunch?" "Undoubtedly. I love my girls, honey." I relaxed until the water cooled for the 3rd time, dried myself, and went to get dressed. I had a new dress. It fit me like a glove, and I loved it. I packed my small bag, just in case. I went all out with my makeup and hair, put on my heels, grabbed my black clutch, and was ready. As I walked down the stairs, Jake looked up from some game he was playing, did a double take, and stared at me. "Where are you going, Cynthia?" "Out," I said. Mo Taxi was there. The taxi driver dropped me off at La Virtu. I told them my name, and the guy took me to the bar. I ordered a mojito and sipped it, lazily dipping mint leaves into it. "Hello, son." That voice behind me, deep bass, making me tremble, as it always has since his voice changed when we were teenagers. "Hello, Quinlan." I offered him my cheek, and he kissed me. "Are you ready for a great dinner?" He extended his hand. My hand was swallowed up by this huge paw. The guy led us to our table, and we ordered. "How did everything go?" I laughed. "You are very similar to my daughters. This is exactly what they asked." He laughed. "Well, besides the fact that they're small and cute and I'm big and ugly, I think we could be twins. Like triplets." I smiled. "Trust me, Q. No one thinks you're ugly but you." It was true. He was hot as hell, but he never realized it. He was always completely in the dark. He was always surprised when some gorgeous women agreed to go on a date with him. Every woman who saw him admired him, but he didn't understand it. I took a deep breath. "It's over, Q. No chance?" "No." He doesn't even feel remorse. He was talking some nonsense like, "We should open our marriage." By this point, I was no longer listening to Jake. He's always been damn shallow, Q. I've known this for years, but I always thought he was committed to me. While this was happening, I was the same. I liked him, he was good in bed and was never rude. I loved him, fell in love with him when I was a child, and then I was just as superficial as he was. He just never grew up. Well, I have matured. He patted my hand. "I understand. It's like he's still a star high school quarterback. He will never become a serious adult. Although I never thought that he would cheat." I shook my head. "Yes, it turns out I wasted many years. Our dinner arrived and we were engrossed for a while, just cozy, chatting with my best friend. We talked about work, girls, his parents. We shared dessert and got another cocktail. I took a sip of the strengthening drink, took a deep breath, and gathered my courage. "Q, do you love me?" He choked slightly on his drink, and I had to laugh. "What kind of question is this? You know it's true. I've always loved you." "Yes, I really do. I've always loved you too. However, I need to ask you some personal questions. Do you think I'm beautiful, attractive, sexy, sweet, funny, honest?" He was starting to look like a deer in headlights, and it was hilarious. I wanted to laugh, but I tried to be serious. "God, Sin, what's happening? You don't need me to tell you that kind of nonsense. You are the hottest woman I have ever met, even seen. You are the complete package. You have everyone who knows you wrapped around your little finger." I laughed bitterly. "Yes, except for Jake." "He's an idiot," Q said. I laughed until I cried. "That's exactly what I told him," I breathed. He grinned, his eyes sparkling. "Yes, everyone except him. I was going to push Quinlan. I've never done this, but I was going to do it now. He was a confirmed bachelor. He constantly went on dates, always holding some gorgeous girl on his arm. He had a luxurious penthouse in Westchester, drove a Lamborghini and wore impeccable clothes. He owned his own company and lived the way he lived. Despite all this, he was the most down-to-earth guy I knew. He was comfortable, but I was going to push him off the cliff. Q, we've been best friends practically our entire lives, right? He nodded. You are my only friend whom I have known for more than 10 years. I don't really keep in touch with the old gang except for you and Jake. Me too. They were a bunch of assholes. He laughed. It seems. I took both his hands in mine. Have you ever thought that we could be more than friends? He was close to panic. I saw it in his eyes. What do you want to say, Sin? I have feelings for you, I said. This has always been the case. I mean, something more friendly feelings. I suppressed them the whole time I knew you because I was with Jake. I pushed them away, refusing to even acknowledge them. I don't, cheater, Quinlan. My marriage is over. It was all over. The second I found out what Jake had done. I'm letting you know. I'm coming for you. He just sat there too stunned to speak. I knew what was going on in his head. I just threw a grenade into his carefully ordered world. He was comfortable. Everything was the way he wanted, and now it all turned into chaos. Sin. Lord, you are like my support. You have always been like this. I'm not going to do anything that you might not like. I can't risk it. But what if you find out that you hate me? I laughed. I'm sure, Q, trust me. Look at me and tell me you've never thought about this. Look into my eyes. He did so for about 2 seconds. I reached out and cupped his cheek, forcing him to meet my gaze. Tell me. I can't, he said. Every day of my life, since the day you hit me in the face with that ball in gym class, I thought about what it would be like. This drove me crazy. God, I love this guy. His sense of humor was the same as mine. I remembered that day very well. My father worked for the Securities and Exchange Commission and was transferred to a new office. We moved to Philadelphia, and it was my first day at this school. I had 2 balls in my hand, and out of the corner of my eye, I saw this huge guy creeping up to my left. He threw the ball, and I blocked it with what was in my left hand. He threw it so hard that he knocked the ball out of my hands, and I released another. I was a softball pitcher, and the ball came flying and hit him square in the face. I remembered the past. Any other boy would probably be embarrassed and angry, but not Quinlan. He just laughed. Wow, you have a great hand, he said. He smiled with all his charm, walked over to the bench, and sat down. I came out after about a minute, walked over and sat down next to him. Sorry, I said. I didn't mean to hit you in the face. I'm Cynthia. Everything is fine, he said. You are the best player on this team. I'm Quinlan. My friends call me Q. You can call me Q. That's all. We were friends, and that never changed. That was about to change. We'll be friends, but it has to be more than that. He just didn't know it yet. Do you think you'd like to find out? I asked. Well, yes, but his voice faded. But? I don't know, Sin. Is this some kind of getting revenge on Jake thing? I knew you would say this. No, Q. Believe me when I tell you this, Jake is gone. He disgusts me. Once I lose respect for a guy, everything he does makes me dislike him. I have no feelings for him, not even anger or hatred. He is who he is, and I feel only indifference and disgust. The first week, yes, there was anger, but I'm not going to dwell on it and let it get me down. I don't understand. I know you won't understand this, but I am who I am, Quinlan. You saw me incredibly furious, incredibly disappointed. How long did it last? He grinned. Not for long. I think you have these incredibly hot, burning times. I've never seen anyone be as furious as you or cry as hard as you. But when you finish, it's over. See, you really know me. Tell me, how do you feel about asking me to dance? What about girls? Don't you need to go back? They are with Mom and Dad. I'll pick them up for lunch tomorrow. Want to go with me? They would be happy to chat with you. He looked at me a little strangely. Okay, where do you want to go? Somewhere where you can be yourself. He laughed. I heard about a new place. I know the owner. You know everyone? With a smile. He grinned. Well, I don't know the mayor or the chief of police, but I know a lot of very useful people. Well, take me away from here. He was a great dancer, I knew. God knows we've danced together many times. He wasn't as good as me, but those ballet lessons that I insisted my mom take me to didn't exist when he was a child. I know all the classical dances, and I'm damn good at shuffle dancing. I was constantly impressing the girls, and Q was always impressed too. They played a mixture of pop and EDM, and I made Q work through both sets. He was busting ass after EDM, and I took pity on him and took him to the bar and then back to the booth. He acted as if he was going to sit on the opposite side, but I sat him next to me. Do I have bad breath? I asked. He laughed. No, but I know you. You are. You're in a predatory mood, and I'm afraid you might eat me. I looked at him thoughtfully. I can. Are you going to fight back really hard? His arm wrapped around me, pulling me into his warmth, and I felt small and protected. I love this feeling. I haven't had this for a long time. Fight? No, Sin. I can never fight you. We always had something. I think we both always knew it, but we never talked about it like that. I know, I whispered. I couldn't, Quinlan. I know, honey. It was never a big secret, but we always avoided it, remained friends, and did what we had to do. I've always respected you very much. You stayed in your lane, stayed true to yourself. It's the same for you, although it always made me damn jealous, seeing you with those gorgeous companions. I couldn't have had a more gorgeous companion, he grinned at me. I consoled myself. I slapped him on the side and pressed myself against him. When I looked up, these piercing blue eyes were looking straight into them. You can take me now, I whispered again. Really, Sin? Are you sure? Won't you hate yourself and me in the morning? I'm not going to hate myself. I might hate you, if it's just for tonight. He stood up and extended his hand. You'll never get rid of me. I took his hand and he pulled me to my feet, trying to lead me away. Q, wait, my bag. He laughed and let me take it. Then we walked out, his massive arm on my shoulders and mine on his waist. I visited him hundreds of times. It never ceased to impress me. This man had impeccable taste. What kind of music do you like? Jazz, old jazz. He laughed. Quite specific, huh? I'll see what I have. What he had was Sarah Vaughan, and when I heard Forever, I started to melt. We were dancing and he lifted my face. I could tell he was going to kiss me, and I wanted that more than anything. We kissed hundreds, maybe thousands of times, but there was always this unspoken wall between us. It was different now. It was a kiss. It was dreamy, sensual, exciting, and lasted for what seemed like hours. It's a good thing he held me because I could have turned into a puddle right there in his living room. He lifted me easily and spun me around twice before gently setting me on my feet. Bedroom, I whispered in his ear, running my tongue along his earlobe. He picked me up again and carried me. Wait, my bag? I squealed. He laughed. What's with you in this bag? He leaned down and pulled the bag off the couch with one finger, holding me in his arms like a child. He sat me down at the foot of his bed. I liked his bedroom. He had a huge round bed surrounded by thin white curtains. The outer wall was glass and provided a magnificent view of the city. Very romantic. I walked over to him, working on the buttons of his shirt. Unzip my zipper. His fingers found the small string hanging from my zipper, and he loosened it, his hand sliding under my dress, sliding the zipper down, running down my back, down my spine, and sending chills through me, giving me goosebumps. His shirt fell to the floor, and there he was. I've seen him shirtless hundreds of times, in the pool, playing sports, and he always makes my mouth water. I fainted. We trained in the same gym, and I knew what weights he lifted. He had real muscles. I ran my hands over his smooth chest. I liked it when it was smooth. He flexed his huge pectoral muscles, making them dance under my fingers. I giggled. You have to teach me this trick. He chuckled. I undid his belt, unzipped his pants, and let them fall around his ankles. "Go to bed," I told him. "I'll be right back." He laughed. I took my bag and went to the bathroom. He had a huge bathroom, a giant clawfoot bathtub, a shower that could grace a locker room full of people, and 2 vanity sinks. I quickly brushed my teeth, reached into my bag, and pulled out my special items. I had never worn them and quickly removed the tags. I undressed and clutched a lime green dress that looked like body stockings, but with fishnet. I pulled it on and made a slight twist. There wasn't much left to the imagination. It barely covered my ass, if covered is the right word. More like decorated, I thought. There were feathered gloves made from the same fishnet, and I pulled them on, slipped on a pair of 6-inch silver heels with matching ankle straps, and took another turn. My hair was straightened, curled, and styled on top of my head. I looked damn sexy. I took a deep breath, gathered my courage, and headed for the door. He lay on his back under the sheet and looked at his phone. I stood in the doorway with my hip thrust forward and my right hand on the doorframe. He didn't notice me, so I cleared my throat. He looked, and his phone fell, hitting him on the chin. He winced, but his eyes didn't move. "Oh my God, Sin! You are an angel, you are a goddess! Oh my God!" This was the reaction I was hoping for, and I strutted over to the bed. He sat down, put the phone on the nightstand, and reached out to me, stood up, took my hand, raising it above our heads, and I slowly turned to him. Then again, he picked me up and gently laid me down on the cool silk sheets. "Oh my God, Cynthia, you're amazing," he whispered, pressing himself against me. I turned him over on his back, lying on top of him. I was hoping we would come to this. I kissed him, and the night was filled with passion. Our lips connected, our hands wandered. I kissed my way down his body, loving every inch. There is something inspiring about making your man feel so much pleasure by giving him your loving gift. I enjoyed every second of it. I giggled and let him pick me up. He pulled my face to his and pressed my lips together. "I will never let you out of this bed." It seemed like we kissed for another hour, and he turned me over, moving down like this. He ran his eyes over me, caressing me. It was a little awkward. "This is great," he said. "How do we remove this? Will you wear it again later?" I giggled. "Anytime you want." I moved, pulling the dress off my shoulders, over my chest, and down to my waist. He pulled it down as I lifted my ass a little so he could remove it. He set it aside reverently, and I was left naked except for long feather gloves, heels, and ankly straps. "I'll leave it at that. You look sexy in these heels." Our moans filled the entire space. Time stood still, and it seemed that it would never go any further. He slowly moved away, rolled over, lay down next to me, and pulled me towards him so that I lay on top of him, my head resting on his chest, and his massive arms enveloping me in their warmth. "Are you okay, Sin?" I nodded. "Yes. God, Quinlan, you destroyed me." He shushed me. I felt it too. It was like I couldn't get enough, like I could never have enough. "I know you in every way now, Sin. I don't think I can ever be without you." He held me, loved me, until I fell asleep, wrapped in the arms of my man. 3 times a night he would wake me, or I would wake him, and we would make sweet, slow love. Q dropped me off at home around 10:30. I needed a shower and more modest clothes for our lunch with the girls. Jake walked to the kitchen door as I entered. "Where the hell have you been?" These were his first words. "None of your business. Why are you still here?" "I live here," he said. "It's not for long. Why don't you make it easier on everyone and just leave? Do you want to argue every day? It's not enough that you're a fucking cheater. Now you have to be an asshole? I think once you calm down your tits, we can talk about this like adults." "I'm an adult, but not you," I said. "You're still a frat boy." I left him stunned and went to the shower. I wore nice jeans, a nice white silk blouse, and strappy sandals. He came in and watched me, lounging in the doorway. "When do you think we will have time to talk?" he asked. "Never. The time to talk was before you started cheating on me. Jake, it's over between us. I will never touch you and I will never let you touch me again. I'm filing for divorce on Monday. I'm not sure when they'll serve you, but I'll be asking for our home in court without you. Girls don't want anything to do with you. I don't want anything to do with you. So what the fuck? You don't want anything to do with us either. You're never here, and when you're here, you don't pay any attention to us. Just leave, Jake, before the cops have to throw you out. Where would you like me to go? Is hell too hot to ask? He snorted. Have it your way, Cynthia. Where are you going and when will you be back? I'm meeting the girls for lunch, and Q will be with us too. Disappear when we return. Please, Jake, just go away. I took the girls from my parents. My beautiful little mother played cards with them. The girls dropped their cards when they saw me and rushed to hug me. Mom followed them at a calmer pace. I hugged her slender figure, and she just hugged me. Her hair lightly tickled my chin. I wondered how much of her life was because of me. She was a child of her generation and never changed. She had the same face that I had all my life. Now there were gray stripes in it, but still a mother. She looked up at me, love shining in her big brown eyes. Are you okay, baby? I squeezed it. Yes. I felt a little teary just knowing and seeing how much she loved me. It's not fun, Mom, but sometimes this happens in life. I never wanted this to happen to you, she said in her soft voice. I know. I'll be okay. Dad is at home? Yes. He was watching a movie with the girls and fell asleep. She grinned. I don't think it was his favorite film. I had to laugh. I couldn't imagine anything girls liked being his movie. I'll just kiss him, I said. Here he is, in his favorite deep chair. I looked at him for a while, at this strong, calm, tall man who had loved me all my life. I inherited my height from him. Mom was a tiny creature. Everything else in me came from her. My skin was just a couple of shades lighter, but I hoped I retained my mother's grace and beauty. I leaned over and kissed my dad on the forehead. He stirred, opened his eyes, and looked at me. Hello, honey, he said. Have you come for horrors? I laughed. Right. You belong to them, Dad, just like you belonged to me. You were a terror too, he said. Still terrifying, when it comes down to it. He sat me on his lap. Was it ugly? He asked. It was ugly, I said. I'm done with this. I'm submitting my application on Monday. I hope he leaves when we get home. You want me to come over and kick his ass? I laughed. No, he will do it himself. He's always been good at this. I don't know how you held on like that, honey, he said. I want you to be happy. That's why I supported you. I never liked him. Do you like Quinlan? He glanced at me. Except that. I mean, no, it's up to you. Yes, I really like him. I always liked it. I hugged him, kissed him on the cheek, and followed the girls. Mom, will Dad be home? Shay asked. I looked at them in the mirror. My little clones, my skin, my hair, even my eyes. They were little beauties, and I hoped they would get through this without injury. I don't know. I asked him to leave. What would you like? He doesn't care about us, Rice said. Why should we care about him? Rice, I don't think it's because he doesn't care about you, I said. He just takes better care of himself. You know what I mean? Yes. I think you're right, she said. We don't want him around anymore, Mom. We were talking about it. He treated you terribly. We won't forget about this. Give him a chance to stay in your life, please. I know he's not a very good father, but maybe someday he'll regret that the two most amazing girls on the planet don't love him, and he'll try to make it up to you. If he does, then in my opinion, you should let him. They were silent. Look, Q is meeting us for lunch, I said. This caused them to squeal with delight. They worshipped Uncle Quinlan. They chatted happily until we got there. He was waiting at the door and they jumped out and ran towards him. He hugged them as he always did, and they filled his ears with their business as I approached. He looked at me and his eyes were sparkling blue crystals. I spread the girls and kissed him. This went on for some time. I stepped back and looked at my children. Their mouths were open and they were speechless. As a mother, leaving your children speechless is a great victory. I had to laugh, and the more I thought about it, the funnier it became. I wiped my eyes, and Q trembled silently, looking down at these two frightened faces. Rice was the first to recover. "Oh yes, really funny, Mom. Mom. Oh my God, Mom, you're kidding, right?" Shay intervened. "You and Uncle Quinlan?" "Oh my God." He pressed them together, and I stepped forward to sandwich them between us. "Don't you like this idea?" he asked them. They had trouble finding their voices. Oh, no," Shay finally managed. "I mean, yes, it's so intoxicating that I can't stand it. I'm going to explode." Rice could hardly contain herself. "This is such a fire. You're kind of my favorite person in the world, Uncle Q. Okay, Mom is ahead, and Grandma, and Grandpa. But you're up there, I promise." "Same thing," Shay said. They pulled him towards them and kissed him on different cheeks. "We are starving," Shay said. "Let's eat and then we'll talk. Are you going to get married, Mom?" "Shay," her sister warned. She covered her mouth with her hand. "Sorry," she said. I need to go to the toilet. I'll wet myself if I don't do this." We went inside, and the girls headed to the restroom. Q and I sat down on the bench together to wait for them. His big arm wrapped around me, and he pulled me towards him. "I think everything went well," he said. I had to laugh. "Yes, until they peed themselves, I would say that this is a stunning success." He chuckled, and that deep, deep sound sent a thrill through me. "Are we going to get married, Sin?" he asked. I looked at him and saw humor, love, and some anxiety in his eyes. "No, you're not the type to get married, Q. We both know that." "Well, I was never married," he said. "But then the only woman I ever thought of marrying was off limits." He didn't lie. "Well, since I'm pretty sure neither of us wants to get arrested for bigamy, and I'm still married legally speaking, so we'll just have to see if we can get used to the idea," I said. "Good plan." They returned from the restroom, and the waiter led us to our table. I walked kind of behind them, and no one at the tables we passed at least said anything about my nipples being visible. Q drove an Uber, so I made him come home with us. I was hoping Jake would leave, but I was a little nervous and needed support. He left, but left a note. "Cynthia, I know you think you're acting strong, but what you're really doing is showing your insecurities. You'll call me in a week, begging me to come back. I will do that, but there will be some changes. You might as well get over it now." I showed the note to Q. "Are you going to call him in a week?" "I'll call him before then, to find out where I can serve him with the divorce papers." He smiled. "That's exactly what I thought. Don't let anyone tell you that standing up for yourself and your girls, standing up for what you believe in, is weak or that you don't have confidence in yourself," he said. "You are comfortable in your own skin. You are the smartest and most gorgeous woman I've ever met." I walked up to him, and he pulled me into his arms. "He's an idiot," Q said. "Every other man on the planet would fight to be with you, to keep you. He'll figure it out soon enough." "Thank you," I whispered. "What are we going to do, you and me?" asked Q. "Now listen to me," I said. "How about we just date? Watch how deeply we fall in love. Communicate effectively, respect each other, have mind-blowing sex, and if everything falls into place, then boom, we get married." He laughed. "Sounds like the girl has a plan." What are the chances of all this happening? It turned out that the plan was carried out 100%. All this happened. It took 18 months, partly to finalize the divorce, partly to convince him he couldn't live without me, and 3 days to sell the idea to the girls and our parents. I looked good in red, but for this occasion, I dressed in white. It turned out well, and the girls were even more gorgeous, in champagne. We exchanged vows in the rose garden, on a bridge over a small stream. The bridge was not on fire. Subscribe to our channel so that your second chaff doesn't cheat on you, and go ahead and listen to the next story, because this story is nothing compared to the next one. If you're under 18, Don't even think about listening to the next one.